attaining together in this virtual room, Zoom application, with a good condition and happy situation. Secondly, peace and salutation always be given to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has brought us from the darkness to the brightness, from the stupidity to the cleverness, from Jahiliyyah era to the Islamic era, and the Islamic religion, Taqillah. The Honorable, given to the first Vice Rector of IAIN Langsa, Ms. Dr. Muhammad Suhaili Sofian LCMA. The Honorable, given to the Dean of Tarbiyah Faculty and Teachers Training, Mr. Dr. Zainal Abidin MA. The Honorable, given to the Head of English Department of IAIN Langsa, Mrs. Nina Afrida MA. The Honorable, given to the Head of Menuai Masa Depan Foundation, Mrs. Rita Evelina. The Honorable, given to the leader of Cotkala English Fun IAIN Langsa, Mr. Hajarul Fajri. The Honorable, given to the whole great speakers. The Honorable, given to the teachers and lecturers from different departments, who cannot I mention name by name. The Honorable, given to the students' organization, include internal and external campus. And the last Honorable, given to the whole participant who has been registering to the international online learning classes. Well, before I get started, let me introduce myself. I'm Sulakin, an English department student of IAIN Langsa. Will take place as a moderator for leading this opening ceremony program. For further information, I would like to inform you all that this program is conducted by the spectacular collaboration among the English department and Cotkala English Fun IAIN Langsa, and together with Menuai Masa Depan Foundation. All right, to get in touch with them, don't forget to visit Instagram account from English department under the name TBI IAIN Langsa 2021, CF or Cotkala English Fun under the name Cotkala English Fun, and for the foundation under the name Menuai Masa Depan. And we are from Cotkala English Fun, would love to open for any kind of collaboration, as we believe that this way can develop connection and networking for each communities. All right, without wasting time anymore, let's start to the first agenda, is reporting from the head of committee to Basma Hajar Asri Tiba. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Morning, everyone. May we are in the best of health and condition today. Firstly, let's thank to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has been giving us mercies, so we can gather in this virtual meeting in a good condition. May peace and salutation always be given to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has guided from Jahiliyyah era to Islamic era. Thank you very much to the Master of Ceremony, who has given me the time to speak in front of you all. My honorable to Mr. Dr. Muhammad Suhaili Sofian LCMA as a Vice Rector of IAIN Langsa. My honorable to Mr. Dr. Zainal Abidin MA as a Dean of Tarbiyah Faculty. My honorable to Mrs. Rita Evelina as a Head of Menuai Masa Depan Foundation. My honorable to Mrs. Nina Afrida MPD as a Head of English Department. My honorable to Hajarul Fajri as a Head of Cotkala English Fun. My honorable to Husnul Yakin as a founder of Cotkala English Fun. My honorable to the whole speakers. My honorable to student organization and invited guests. Well, everyone, allow me to introduce myself. I am Basma Hajar Asri Tiba. as a head of committee. International online learning classes is a collaborative activity among the English Language Education Study Program, Cotkala English Fun, IAIN Langsa, and Menuai Masa Depan Foundation. The international class activities will be held in 6 meetings starting from 28th of March to 9th of May 2021. This program aims to develop the people skills in expanding English quality for achieving successful career. There are 5 speakers will deliver about their amazing topics, as Mrs. Perrin Clore Duncan will deliver about writing for scholarship. Mrs. Caroline Jane Green will deliver about strategy in mastering listening tests. Mr. David Paradin will deliver about intercultural communication. Mrs. Sondang Amelia will deliver about fun and interactive English speaking and conversation. And Mrs. Selina Mahoney will deliver about writing a research proposal. The participant who has been registering to the program are mostly consist of students from IAIN Langsa, Universitas Lampung, Universitas Teknologi Yogyakarta, Win Araniri, that there are also many teachers and lecturers participate in this international online learning classes program. There are 80 participants who join on this program. Thank you for the whole parties who has been supported this program to be held. I think that's all from me as report. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for Mrs. Basma Hajar Asri as the head of committee. We're moving to the next agenda, welcoming remarks by head of English Department of IAIN Langsa. To Mrs. Nina Afrida, MPD, the time is yours.
Okay, can you hear my voice? Okay, thank you for moderator Husnul Yakin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, good morning Indonesia, good evening, good afternoon, and good day everybody in other countries. First, distinguished rector, and in here, vice rector, Bapak Dr. Suhaili Sufyan MA, and then Honorable Dean of Tarbiyah and Teachers Training Faculty, Bapak Dr. Zainal Abidin MA, and Honorable all of international instructors, and then Honorable Head of Cotkala English Fun, Hajarul Fajri, and Honorable Head of Menuai Masa Depan Foundation, Ibu Rida Evelina. And the last Honorable to the founder of CEF, Cotkala English Fun, Husnul Yakin, and all of participants here. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. And we are very pleased to be able to welcome those of you that have been with us. And for all participants, thank you again for joining us to this activity and set of classes considerable important to us. Alhamdulillah, this month and done, we have been provided 2 activities, and these activities is there are activities, international activities. The first is intercultural peering discussion activities between English Department of IAIN Langsa student and Monash University student, and the coming active international online learning classes that is going on now. Ladies and gentlemen, the first I owe much gratitude to the instructors and especially for Mr. David G. Perodin. I think this is not the first time for him become a speaker in IAIN Langsa. The first was in Elite Conference, and then in our webinar on September, and the last as the instructor here in our international class. And then also really appreciate to other instructors, especially for the first meeting class instructor today, um, Mrs. Perrin Clore Duncan. Sorry if I misspelling your name, yeah. Welcome to Indonesia virtually. Welcome to our campus, IAIN Langsa virtually. I hope we can meet each other face to face by offline. And also my appreciate to Menuai Masa Depan Foundation, Ibu Rida Evelina as the head of foundation, who has given hand to collaboration to our member. And thank you ever so much to our organizing committee. You have worked extremely hard for the last 2 weeks to prepare this outstanding program. And the last but not least, thank you again for all participants have joined into our class based on the online registration data and based on the report from the head of committee. I think about the 80 participants have registered here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this coronavirus has influenced for everything, almost everything, partially or completely changing the normal our life. In briefly, will be outlined the positive influence of pandemic on education. For instance, introduction or integration of new technology into the education system. So this opportunity make us able to conduct an outstanding learning activity. Virtual or online helps us. Consequently, we can invite the prominent native speaker from other country as an instructor in this learning English, and it is so difficult to conduct offline. Ladies and gentlemen, about English, we know that English language plays an important role in our life. It is understood by many people around the world, seen as the most spoken language. And English may not be the most spoken language in the world. In officially 53, I think, countries and spoken by around 4 until 500 million people across the globe. So being able to speak English is not just about being able to communicate with native speaker. Um, uh, there are so many important if you can speak English, you can master English language. One of the important, especially for student, is student can improve the quality of life by providing job opportunities and then develop emotional skill. And there are so many benefits. And as English is a universal language for every sector, so almost every certification, degree, and then course and knowledge are available in English. Um, I have read, according to a report, a higher percentage of content is available in English, which means that more and more information is available to people who can read English. If you can speak English, sorry, if you just speak only native language, your job opportunities might be more limited. But when you speak English, you will have access to a greater number of career opportunities in multinational companies and industry inside and outside of your home country. And based on this reason, we, Cotkala English Fun and English Department of IAIN Langsa, with Menuai Masa Depan Foundation, have been organizing a variety of international programs, including this English class. This is the first of our international class, and it will be given by prominent instructor of an international standing. And sorry, who I have mentioned it before. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you for all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi Well, thank you very much for Mrs. Nina Afrida, MPD, as the head of English Department of IAIN Langsa, who has given the welcoming remarks. Furthermore, the third agenda will be about welcoming speech by the head of Menuai Masa Depan Foundation to Mrs. Rida Situmorang. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. The Honorable Rector of IAIN Langsa, the Honorable Head of EBI Prodi, and also the Honorable Dean of Tarbiyah Faculty, and also the Honorable Head of Cotkala English Fun, and also all the participants, all the committee that already joined in this online webinar, online English classes. It's such a great pleasure for our foundation to have this collaboration, to have this event, to have this international English classes. Thank you for all the committee that make this happen. I know you maybe work hard during these 2 weeks. Thank you. And also welcome to all the participants who join in these classes. Here we will have 6 meetings, six meeting for classes. I hope all the participants here will enjoy the classes and you will get good, or maybe you will get a lot of knowledge from all the speakers, because I believe that all the speakers here are great speakers, and we really hope that it will bring big impact for all the participants who join here. Menuai Masa Depan Foundation focus on soft skills education and also on English education for the teachers and also for the students to enrich all the teachers, all the students in English or maybe in teaching learning process. So I guess that's all. I hope all of you will enjoy the classes during these 6 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Mrs. Rida Elifina, from the head of Menuai Masa Depan Foundation. Yeah, but before we go to our first vice rector, here I would like to welcome to Mrs. Perrin Duncan. Yes, welcome to this virtual room. Furthermore, the opening speech or the opening ceremony by the first Vice Rector of IAIN Langsa to Dr. Muhammad Suhaili Sufyan, LCMA. The time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Praise be to Allah for the benefit of health in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. Salawat and salam to our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, a prophet who highly upholds human values. Good morning, everybody. I don't know the time in your place is morning or afternoon, but refer to our time. We are in the morning right now. The Honorable Chairperson of English Department, Faculty Tarbiyah and Teaching, State Institute for Islamic Studies, Bu Nina Afrida, the Honorable Chairperson Menuai Masa Depan Foundation, Bu Rida, in my letter is Bu Rida, especially our beloved student and all of instructor in international online learning class and all of participants. I take this opportunity to express my appreciation of the holding an international English online class. With this class, we hope to able to share experiences, to know the culture each other, and the most important thing is to build the network and connection between everyone concerned in English field, all of the world. We would like to express our highest gratitude to the English Language Department, Cotkala English Fun, and the Menuai Masa Depan Foundation for this cooperation. Hopefully, in the future, it can be improved in the form of other programs. By saying Basmalah Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, international online class, expanding English quality for achieving successful career. We officially open start today until 9th of May 2021. I hope this class goes well, smoothly, and fun, and enjoy your class, everybody. And thank you for all of instructor to help our student. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to Dr. Muhammad Swahili Sufyan LCMA as the first Vice Rector of IAIN Langsa. Honestly, here I would like to say sorry because before Dr. Muhammad Swahili Sufyan, it actually should be our Dean of Tarbiyah Faculty. To Dr. Zainal Abidin MA, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dan syukralillah, salatan wa salaman daiman ala rasulillah. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Puji serta syukur kita sampaikan kepada Allah Subhanahu wa taala sampai pada pagi yang berbahagia ini kepada kita masih diberikan kesehatan dan kesempatan. Kemudian selawat dan salam pada junjungan kita Nabi besar Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Izinkanlah saya menyampaikan sambutan ini dalam menggunakan bahasa Indonesia supaya nanti saudara moderator mungkin bisa menyampaikan inti dari sambutan ini kepada seluruh peserta. Khawatir saya kalau saya sampaikan dalam bahasa Inggris banyak yang tidak paham nanti. Namun demikian saya coba sapa semua kawan-kawan yang telah bergabung dalam forum ini. How are you this morning, ladies and gentlemen? Baiklah, pada kesempatan ini ada beberapa hal atas nama pimpinan Fakultas Tarbiyah kami ingin sampaikan pada sekalian peserta International Online Learning Class yang dilaksanakan oleh program studi pendidikan bahasa Inggris. Yang pertama bahwa dalam persoalan pembelajaran bahasa Inggris ada fenomena yang terjadi, ada sebahagian orang menganggap belajar bahasa Inggris itu tidak sulit. Tapi di sisi yang lain juga tidak sedikit orang yang menganggap bahwa belajar bahasa Inggris itu sangat sulit, super sulit malah. Ini adalah sebuah realitas yang kita simak, yang kita dengar, yang kita amati di tengah-tengah masyarakat. Di mana sulitnya? Sulit di dalam mengingat kata-kata, pengucapan, dan juga sulit di dalam baik listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Kadang juga orang tidak percaya diri ketika ingin mengaktualisasikan menggunakan bahasa Inggris sebagai bahasa komunikasi. Apalagi tuntutan di era sekarang bahwa bahasa Inggris adalah merupakan bahasa internasional di mana siapapun semestinya harus menguasai karena itu adalah sebuah bahasa komunikasi yang tidak mungkin tidak bisa digunakan oleh setiap orang karena setiap orang harus berinteraksi dengan masyarakat yang lebih luas, masyarakat internasional. Saya kira ini adalah sebuah realitas. Kita bersyukur bahwa pada kesempatan hari ini Prodi Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris telah berinisiasi menyelenggarakan sebuah kegiatan kelas internasional belajar bahasa Inggris secara online di era pandemi COVID. Saya kira ini merupakan sebuah terobosan yang terus-menerus dilakukan oleh program studi bahasa Inggris Fakultas Tarbiyah IAIN Langsa dalam rangka memberikan sejumlah kemudahan-kemudahan dalam pencapaian pemecahan terhadap kesulitan-kesulitan yang dihadapi oleh para mahasiswa, oleh para dosen di lingkungan khususnya di Fakultas Tarbiyah IAIN Langsa. Nah, ini adalah sesuatu yang sangat memberikan dampak positif. Tentunya kami atas nama pimpinan Fakultas Tarbiyah menyampaikan ucapan terima kasih banyak pada saudari Nina Afrida serta kawan-kawan semua yang terlibat di dalam kegiatan ini, yang mensupport kegiatan ini. Mudah-mudahan kegiatan kelas internasional belajar bahasa Inggris secara online ini bisa dilaksanakan berulang-ulang, apalagi ini diisi oleh tutor-tutor sebagai tenaga pengajar yang mereka adalah native speaker. Saya kira ini adalah satu jalan kemudahan bagi mahasiswa dalam mengimplementasikan keterampilan berbahasa di tengah-tengah era pandemi COVID ini. Nah, di sini juga Fakultas Tarbiyah dari hari ke hari terus melakukan upaya-upaya meningkatkan kualitas pembelajaran. Tidak terlepas juga pembelajaran yang dilaksanakan di prodi bahasa Inggris. Beberapa terobosan dalam pembelajaran bahasa Inggris supaya mahasiswa bahasa Inggris itu bisa memiliki keterampilan yang hari ke hari itu terus dapat diukur dan dapat ditingkatkan, sehingga Fakultas Tarbiyah telah melakukan beberapa terobosan. Mudah-mudahan kegiatan ini dan kerjasama ini adalah memberikan dampak yang positif sekali, terutama bagi para mahasiswa juga secara para mahasiswa prodi pendidikan bahasa Inggris, dosen yang ada di lingkungan IAIN dan Fakultas Tarbiyah, juga untuk semua kita yang telah berhadir di dalam forum webinar ini. Satu lagi, ada fenomena bahwa orang lebih mudah ada anak bahasa Inggris itu yang lebih mudah mencapai penguasaan bahasa daerah ketika dia belajar di daerah tertentu daripada dia menguasai bahasa Inggris yang sebenarnya itu adalah core keilmuan prodinya. Kenapa? Karena hari-hari dia adalah mengikuti, mendengar serta berbicara dengan bahasa-bahasa daerah itu. Semestinya kalau kita lihat fenomena itu, bahasa Inggris tidak menjadi sulit sebagaimana fenomena di beberapa hasil riset itu. Kalau kemudian bahasa Inggris ditemukan sebuah metode yang lebih praktis, bagaimana bisa mengukur bahwa dalam durasi tertentu, dalam waktu tertentu, dalam momen tertentu, orang akan mudah menemukan solusi-solusi di dalam setiap masalah yang dihadapi. Termasuk saya pada hari ini sebenarnya merasa tidak nyaman begitu ketika tidak menyampaikan dalam bahasa Inggris. Tapi ini adalah dampak daripada pengalaman masa lalu. Mudah-mudahan ini adalah menjadi sebuah capaian pada masa kini yang lebih memberikan sisi kemudahan, solusi atas segala masalah-masalah yang dihadapi oleh mahasiswa, khususnya dalam melaksanakan proses pembelajaran bahasa Inggris. Saya kira saya sangat percaya sekali kepada para narasumber hari ini, para tutor hari ini yang akan memberikan materinya. Terima kasih pada semua partisipan, pada penyelenggara, pada seluruh audien yang telah mengikuti acara ini. Mudah-mudahan ke depan acara ini terus dilaksanakan dan kita di atas nama pimpinan Fakultas Tarbiyah dan Ilmu Keguruan IAIN Langsa terus mensupport Bu Nina, Afrida dan kawan-kawan semua yang hari demi hari terus berupaya melakukan kegiatan-kegiatan dalam rangka meningkatkan output daripada lulusan prodi pendidikan bahasa Inggris. Demikian saja. Mohon maaf atas segala keterbatasan, atas hal-hal yang tidak nyaman. Kami akhiri dengan ucapan Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for Dr. Zainal Abidin MA for the speech. Let me give a little bit translation. Let me translate for a brief of point of view from our Dean of Tarbiyah faculty. As he said that in learning English, many of opinion or point of view about learning English. Some people said that learning English is easy, but some of them not. They think that learning English is difficult to understand, to learn. So in this case, people have to confidence. People have to confidence to speak in English. And he said that we have to really grateful for English department of IAIN Langsa, Cotkala English Fun, Menuai Masa Depan Foundation for conducting this program, particularly in international learning classes program, right? Yes, he deeply hoped that this program can continue for the others time, for the others project. And because of this program is really helpful for students, for every people to learn English. And also, he would like to welcome to all of the participants, all of the speakers, great speakers, and all of the invited guests. For the last, I would like to say thank you for all speakers, for all invited guests, particularly in, especially for Mr. Dr. Muhammad Suhaili Sufyan, LCMA, who has been opening this international online learning classes program. Well, I think this is the end of the opening ceremony, but before we close this opening ceremony, I do hope you can take a picture for a while. So as this usual, as the previous activity, we would love to take picture to have this moment on the picture to be memorized, to be remembered for in the next future, for the next future, right? So kindly remind you, please, to turn on the camera for everybody, right? Everybody, I would like to remind you, kindly please turn on your camera because we are going to take picture together, and don't forget to give your best of smile. Right. Okay, let me check. Are you all opening the camera? Have you? Okay, we're waiting for you guys. For once, kindly remind you to open the camera because we are going to take picture for a while. Right. Don't forget to give your best of smile. So let me count up to 3, and then we will take picture together. So make sure you will give your best of smile. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Right. As we have another slide, so you will have to give your best smile because we want to take picture for another slide. Ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. Give your best smile. Well, thank you very much for your valuable attention. Yes, I do hope that this program will helpful and enjoy this program successfully. And also, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for the attendance. This is the last for me. For the last, I say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.
Well, after I became the master of ceremony, now it is time for me to be the master of, to be the moderator for this first online learning classes program. So, well, everybody, for further information, I would like to inform you guys, don't leave from this virtual room, from this Zoom meeting, because this is the prize, yeah, or the gift from we all as the English department, the Cotkala English Fun IAIN Langsa, and also the Menuai Masa Depan Foundation. We would love to inform you, just join to this first online meeting. Don't leave, because this will be delivered freely for you guys for the first meeting. So don't leave, just enjoy this learning process. I believe that we will have new insights from our great speaker, Mrs. Perrin Duncan. Yes, for a little brief from our great speaker. Let me read brief of information. Yes, talking about Mrs. Perrin. Mrs. Perrin graduated from cum laude from DePaul University in May of 2007 with an economics and studio art double major and Spanish minor. During her college career, she fed her love of travel and cultural experiences through studying abroad in Educator, El Salvador, India, and Spain. Shortly after her undergraduate graduation, Perrin began a Master of Fine Arts at the Barron College of Art in a teeny village of 150 people in County Clare, Ireland. She graduated with her MFA in April 2019 and traded a quite immensely life on the Atlantic coast for one in the noisy and bustling city of Bangkok, Thailand. While in South Asia, he was in a marketing and communication role at the CHAM Foundation, a not-profit that facilitates global citizenship education through on and off-campus programs. Perrin is an avid cyclist and runner, always on the hunt for a good read, and given the choice, she'd rather spend all her days outdoors. It means that she loves to travel, guys. So beyond any other career or personal interest, Perrin is passionate about pursuing a life of purpose and deeply believes in the value of education for all. Her personal blog can be found at perrinduncan.com along with her artwork. So that's all about our first great speaker. So I would like to welcome to this our wonderful speaker, Mrs. Perrin Duncan. I think no need to waste time anymore. We would like to listen your voice and discuss about the lesson. We are ready. Thank you. The time is yours.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that really kind introduction. And I'm so excited to be here today with you all. This is such a huge honor to get to share some time with friends across the oceans. When I had to leave Bangkok last year around this time, it totally broke my heart. And I didn't get the opportunity to visit Indonesia. But at some point, I hope to make it back there. And I would love to see you all in person someday. This is just such an honor to connect with you all. And I really commend each of you for pursuing your education and learning more about the English language. You know, the more we know, the better, as we connect with each other and work together to make solutions in our world. So I am very excited to share with you today a little bit about essay writing for scholarships. So when my dear friend Sondong asked me to give a presentation to you all, I was not sure what exactly to share. And she suggested that I share some writing tips. I work with college students on their applications, and I also have a personal blog, and I'm a digital content creator for the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce. So I actually just started that role a few weeks ago. And I write a lot of their news articles. And I think writing is a really important element as you explore any language. You know, I unfortunately don't speak many languages fluently. I speak English and I speak Spanish, but when I learned to write in Spanish, it improved my speaking abilities and improved my ability to connect with people. So that's what I hope each of you get as you continue pursuing your education, you know, in English and in other languages. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Let's see. Okay. If I can, I'm going to make sure that I'm in presenter. Okay, here we go. Thank you for your patience with me. Okay. So we are going to start. All right, scholarship writing. So scholarship writing is sort of a unique form of writing because it's focused on yourself. And it's focused on telling a story that's going to be compelling enough to get someone interested in seeing your potential, which each of you, if you're here today, you have potential. You have great potential to really achieve whatever you want. So don't ever believe that you're not capable. A little bit about me, and thank you so much already for the introduction. So I grew up in Edmond, Oklahoma. Not many people know very much about Oklahoma. Raise your hand in the Zoom if you know what Oklahoma is. So Oklahoma is in the middle of the United States. It is not a very well-known state. A lot of people know us for Thunder basketball. We're also known for the Oklahoma City bombing, which happened in 1995. But it's a really wonderful community of really loving people. So I grew up here, and I grew up horseback riding, and always loved school. And then I went to DePaul University and got my undergraduate degree in economics and studio art. I have sort of a diverse set of interests. I really like economics and I really like art. And I continued pursuing my education in the arts when I went to Ireland. These are a couple of my paintings behind me. Then I had the opportunity to go to Bangkok and work for a few years. And you all are so lucky to live in Southeast Asia. It is such a fantastic place. And I'd love to live there again. And so now I'm a digital content creator for the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce. I'm also an avid cyclist. I love riding bikes. I'm a runner. I'm actually an ambassador for a type of running shoe called Newton. I'm a blogger, an artist, a volunteer, and a friend. And I just want to encourage you all. I know that this is also sort of a way to network, but please feel free to add me on LinkedIn, interact with me on social media. I would love to connect. All right. So now I want to know a little bit about you and what brings you here today. So if you can just take a moment to type into the chat box, what brings you here today? So answer the question, why are you here and what do you hope to get out of this session? And let's see if I can pull up the chat so I can see what you all are saying. Oops. All right. Let's see. If you haven't yet responded, go ahead and send in your response. All right. Don't be shy. It's an opportunity to practice your writing skills. Why are you here today? All right. Okay, I don't see any responses yet. So we can go ahead and keep going, if that's okay with you all. Okay, we will keep going. And if someone ends up feeling compelled to share what brings them here today, feel free. Oh, amazing. Salman, I think. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Says, I hope that I can improve my English more. And T. Kenza Ahmed Gary said, I'm here for training my listening. I hope I can improve it. Awesome. Thank you all so much for your responses. It's always nerve-wracking as the speaker when you're not sure if people are getting something out of it or not. The next question I want to ask is, who plans on applying for a scholarship in the future? If you could just raise your hand and show, indicate if you're interested in applying for a scholarship in the future. All right, I see a few people raising their hands. Amazing. That's great. Awesome. And we have another response in the chat. It's a great opportunity to be here to learn with a lot of great speakers, including you. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you. It's such an honor to be with you all. Okay, so here's just a couple of quick quotes of encouragement as you think about writing. Sometimes we let students write themselves in. That's from the Dean of Admission at a college in the US called Sarah Lawrence College. So your writing makes a difference. So know that. And then the next one says, the essay gives us something the numbers don't reveal. That's the director of admission at Gordon College. So what that means is you might have incredible test scores or incredible, things on your resume or your CV, but those numbers don't always show who you are and show what a wonderful contribution you can make to a college or university or wherever you're applying for scholarship for. So with a scholarship essay, you can really sell yourself. Oh, amazing. Myra shared, pursuing my master's degree through a scholarship has been my dream for years. I know that it's not easy, but that's why I'm here. Hopefully we connect and collaborate near the future. Amazing. I love connecting. Okay, so my first tip for writing is to be creative with your composition. Many essays and scholarship essays ask for you to share a little bit about yourself, and it might be your first time to really write a personal narrative. Not everyone has an opportunity or chooses to write a story about themselves. But you can almost think of it as an autobiography. And it's really great to be creative with it. So what I mean by that is, if you're telling a story about yourself, instead of just listing off, oh, I did this, and then I did this, and I've done this job, and you want to talk almost conversationally as you write. And I know that this takes time too. So I don't expect anyone, you know, whether English is your second language or third or fourth or fifth, I don't expect you to feel perfect at it from the beginning. But as you get more comfortable in writing, I think it's great to be able to encourage a more conversational tone of writing, as if you were talking to a stranger on the plane, or talking to a new friend and sharing your story with them. Make it interesting, but don't brag. People don't like people that are know-it-alls. So be humble, but be willing to sell yourself and show the reader your authentic voice and who you are. Right. The next tip that I have is to intrigue your audience in the first paragraph. Think about when you first meet someone and you walk into a room and you see them, and you might be, you know, you see an article of clothing that they have on. You're like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. I want to go talk to them and ask them about their shirt, or, you know, whatever it is. You need to have something that brings your audience in, makes people want to learn more about you. So one option to do this in writing is to create intrigue, tension, or conflict. So your opening paragraph isn't the place to tell your entire story, but you want to give enough so that your reader is really wanting more details from you. So what does it take to hold your interest? And this is a hard thing, because in a world that we live in today, there are things that are constantly pulling for our interest. You know, we have devices, we have noises on the street, we have our family members and friends. Everything's trying to pull at our interest. So think about, what would it take to hold your interest, and ask of you, you know, I want to read more about this. So here's an example. When I was in high school, I played in the high school band. Okay, that's kind of interesting, but let's go take it a little further. It was my favorite activity, and I never missed a practice or a performance. But one day, to my horror, I left my $1,000 violin on the school bus. So at that point, that last sentence really draws you in, and you think, oh my gosh, it was $1,000, a violin worth $1,000 that they left on the school bus. What happened? I want to know, did he get the violin back? So think about that when you're telling a story. How can I create some intrigue? Okay, let's see. Make it to the next slide. Okay, the next thing is to keep it personal. So I assume most scholarships you're going to be applying to a college or university. And I want you to know the college wants to know about you. They don't want to hear about your friends or your relatives. They want to know your story, and they want to know something that can come from only you. So it shouldn't be the same story they've read student after student. And this can sometimes be a difficult thing to figure out. You know, how can I make myself sound unique? And another thing that I might encourage you to do, depending on what your skill level is write it first in your native language, and then go back and translate to English. Have someone who's a native English speaker review it for grammar and other suggestions, because sometimes through translation, things just sound different. But it should be your story, and make it be who you are. Make it be something you're excited to share with someone. The next thing is to answer the prompt. So who knows what a prompt is? Does anyone want to share in the chat box what a prompt is? Anyone willing to share? Just go ahead and send it if you can think. And this is a place for learning. Let me just encourage that too. There's no wrong answers. And prompt might not be a word that anyone's heard before. All right. I'm not sure if anyone's sending anything in, so I'll go ahead and share. A prompt is what the essay is asking you to write about. So you might have a prompt that says, tell about a time that you were very inspired. And what was the situation? That would be considered a prompt. And when you're writing an essay, you want to make sure you really understand the prompts, because the best essay in the world won't do well if it doesn't answer the question. So if the question is, tell me about a time that you were inspired and you told me about how you lost your dog when you were 7 years old, or I'm sorry, that's probably not a very Indonesian thing. Not many people have dogs in Indonesia. If you broke your toy when you were a child, that wouldn't be a very good essay to answer when you were inspired. So just make sure you have an understanding of what the prompt is. And if you need to take some time to think about the prompts and then brainstorm how to make it exciting for the reader based on your life experience, do that. Don't be afraid to take some time to really dig deep and see what might be interesting. The next thing I wanted to share is that the essay should demonstrate your ability to write clearly and concisely on a selected topic. It should help you distinguish yourself in your own voice. So, what do you want your readers to know about you that's not related to your past courses, your grades, your test scores, your certifications? What do you think that you bring to the world? What's valuable about what you can share? So, the other thing that is very important is to vary your sentence styles and links. That makes a difference when you're reading something in English. If you write the sentence in the same way every time, it loses the interest of the reader. So think about how you might put a comma in some sentences, Put an and in some sentences. Start a sentence with but. This is an example of an essay of a student that I worked with. And I hope that this isn't too confusing. You'll notice, and you probably picked this up, the first sentence on here that's in quotation marks looks really odd. It's not normal English. It's not well written. But that was intentional in order to mimic an Irish accent. So it says, what's the worst that could happen? And then the student goes on to say, my mother's thick Northern Irish accent ruggedly chopped through every word. Her native brogue was tough cadence to understand, but through this harsh exterior of pronunciation was a question of compassion. This was the question that she asked every time I was overtaken with fear, like when she was teaching me how to ride my bike. Her form of teaching involved asking me existential questions in hopes it would somehow convince my feet to push the pedals. Not the most nurturing method of instruction, but that's the best you're going to get when your mother is Irish. I knock my teeth out, I mutter to myself. Her question rang in my head. What was the worst that could happen? I knock my teeth out? It would be a cool story to tell my third grade friends. I break both kneecaps and have to be wheeled around like Professor X. That would be pretty cool too. I fall. I had so much padding on, it would probably be like falling into a cloud. While the scenarios played over in my head, ensuring myself that the worst would be a painless tumble onto the asphalt, I planted my heels firmly onto the pedals of the bright pink bike, appropriately named Rabbit, and began cycling. Maybe I should listen to Mom more often. So in this essay, you can see that the student varied their sentences. Some were short, some were long, some were, quotations. So quotations are used whenever you're describing dialogue. And it's fairly interesting. This student used pretty advanced vocabulary, which also I want to encourage you all and just note, and I have no doubt that you have great vocabulary. I actually find that non-native English speakers that I work with have significantly better vocabulary than English speakers or native English speakers. And so don't stress too much, though, about your vocabulary being big enough. I think the best writers and best communicators know how to say things with very simple language. I'm going to go ahead and skip these two slides and go on to dialogue writing. So if you're telling a story, sometimes you might want to use quotation marks to be able to say what someone is talking about, and sort of narrate the experience for the reader. So this example says, when our stomachs were full of GGs, and if anyone doesn't know what GG is a name that is very common for grandmother in the US. So when our stomachs were full of Gigi's home-cooked dinner and Grandpa's ice cream, we'd settle in for the night. Excitedly, I'd run to my grandparents' room and plop myself on the floor, on the pallet prepared just for me next to Gigi's side of the bed. Buzzing from ice cream, I'd peek over the bed and ask for stories or songs to help me sleep. My grandparents always happily obliged. Finally, I'd lay down and close my eyes. Wake us up if we snore, Gigi would say. I'd giggle and say, okay, not. Good night, they both replied, laughing. We started telling each other goodnight in a slow, southern, drawn-out way after discussing the mispronunciation of Nat and realizing the parallel between the two words. So here's a piece of advice from Delaware senior Brittany Stinson, who wrote an essay on Costco and was admitted to 5 different Ivy League schools in 2016. So she says to think about a few of your defining qualities and figure out what makes you tick. So don't try to be someone else because it will show. And if you convey your true self, the people reading it will connect with your authenticity. I think that that is such a valuable piece of advice, because in any situation in life, if we try to be someone else, be someone that we're not really, we might think, oh, well, you know, she is so talented and such a better writer than me, so I'm going to pretend to be her and, you know, think about how could I be more like her? And it's okay to have people that you admire as mentors, but also the contributions that you bring are so valuable. And so figure out what makes you excited and share that. And then whenever you are writing an essay, you want to make sure that you have a good conclusion. And so this, I really liked this student's essay because they wrote about cooking and then they tied it in to their self. So it says, to think that so much in life could be summed up with food is to put the unexplainable into something tangible. The ubiquity of food sets its role as the universal communicator. As they say, you are what you eat, and I strive to be just like the food I eat every day, progressive with my thinking, diverse in my conversations, and promoting discovery whenever possible. I know that new culinary and academic adventures will come knocking, and when they do, I'll be ready. I can practically taste it. So it was just kind of a perfect way to take this full essay about this student's passion for food and cooking and talk about the contributions they want to make to the world and what they want to do with their academic career. So here are a concise list of tips that I have for you. So one thing is to use strong verbs in the active, not the passive tense, and use fresh words. So words that make you feel excited to write. Does anyone have a favorite word of the English language? You could just type your favorite word of the English language in the chat box. And I'm going to encourage everyone to really try to do this. Or it doesn't even have to be your favorite word, just a word that you like. I'll type that in. An English word you like. This is an opportunity to demonstrate something about you that you want people to know. I have it. It is effervescence. That's an exciting word. That's really fun to say. Anyone else want to share a word that they like? Marvelous. Marvelous. That's a really great word too. Let's see if there's one more. Rhapsody. I like that. You guys are making me like my language more. Autonomously. You guys have great vocab. This is wonderful. Awesome. So use fresh words. And another thing that I will say is flawless. You're flawless. We've got some Beyonce in here. Okay, so another thing that I will say is that you want to avoid unnecessary adjectives. It's really clear when someone's writing and every other word that they say ends with an ly. So you'll notice fabulous. Great. So when you see words that end in ly like that, like really and perfectly, flawsome, no worries, and bravely, or any word that ends in an ly is an adjective. And sometimes we use these words as filler words, but a sentence can sometimes be more strong if it doesn't have the adjective in the sentence. So it can, because it makes it more of a punch of a statement. And so instead of saying, I definitely like writing, you could just say, I like writing, and have it be that. I like writing. I don't need to say, I definitely like writing. Just say, I like writing, or I enjoy writing. Also use dialogue if it feels right to you, because that is always interactive and interesting. Another thing you can do is teach the reader something. So if you feel like you have one thing, especially if you're applying to international programs, share something that's unique to your upbringing, your experience in your home country, because that is always going to be valuable to someone else. And that kind of ties in with the last point, is to weave in your values and traits. So if there's something really valuable to you in your life, weave that in. And I just liked this quote: a good writer doesn't feel compelled to do readers' work. Now we went through the do's and some tips on what you should do when you're writing. And now I'm going to go through a few things not to do. So one thing that sometimes people make an assumption of is that the admissions committee or the scholarship selection committee is a bunch of stuffy old professors. So we have this picture of an older man, and you know, it does a disservice to everyone if we make assumptions about who the reader is, because at the end of the day, everyone, regardless of your identity, wants to be entertained. And even if it was a stuffy old professor that was reading your essay, you want it to be interesting to them. They're human too. And professors also like to be entertained. The other thing that I want to share is don't write a resume. So when you are writing a scholarship essay, if you have applied for the scholarship with your CV or with your resume, don't repeat information that is found elsewhere in your application. So if you mention your activities, your GPA or honors in your essay, but they're already in your resume, it sort of takes away your opportunity to use that typically limited word count. Because if I already know, Salman, if I already know that you have great test scores and you tell me about it in your essay, I didn't really need to know that. And you missed an opportunity to tell me something else amazing about yourself. Does that make sense? Okay, I see a few nods. So don't say this. I played on the tennis team, served on the student council, maintained a B+ average, traveled to France, and worked at a cheese factory. All of those things we can typically find on your resume. So we want to be a little bit more interesting than that. Another thing that I feel some people are a little bit fearful of, but there's no reason to, is humor. If you feel comfortable using a little bit of humor in your writing, go for it. If that is something that's authentic to you and who you are, feel free to put a little humor into your writing. And do it as you feel comfortable too. Because if you don't feel comfortable yet, I think it can sometimes be hard to, you know, not only write in a language that's not your first language, but then understand how to write in a funny way that makes sense in a different language. But humor is a great way to really capture people's attention when you do feel comfortable with it. Another thing is, don't bore the reader. So admissions officers and people who read scholarship essays have hundreds or sometimes thousands of essays to read, and they often skim the essays. So they'll read a couple sentences and maybe skip around and toss it if it's not interesting enough. So you really want every sentence and every word to count, because we want them to read your entire essay. So going back to the beginning tips that I shared, you want to make sure it's compelling from the start and you make the most. Ginaldi, I'm not sure if that I'm pronouncing your name right, and I'm so sorry if I'm saying it incorrect. Is it Ginaldi or Ginaldi? Are you able to unmute yourself? Oh, here, I'll ask you to unmute yourself so you can share your name. May not be working. But that's a good point. What you bring up is, I'm not sure if I can use humor in a scholarship essay. In some essays, you might not be able to. But there might be an essay where it is appropriate. And if you ever feel concerned, if you want to use humor and feel concerned that it might not be appropriate, I would lean on the side of caution and not use it. But if you feel good about it and feel like it adds to your essay and is entertaining for the reader, just go ahead and get a second opinion before you submit it. But that's a great question, because you do want to maintain a sense of professionalism. And sometimes humor doesn't seem as professional, but it absolutely can be, especially if it's authentic to you. But thank you so much for that question. So, which is sort of a great transition into potential off-limits topics. So topics you don't want to be including in your essay. And that's divorce, disease, death, disabilities, winning or losing a big game, or mission trips. So all of these are sometimes more controversial topics that might unfortunately change the reader's perspective on you in a way that you don't really want to change. So say you wrote about a divorce, and a divorce that you had with your partner, and they were going through a divorce, and they felt like they didn't agree with how you described it. it's just a bummer that you talked about that in your essay and that person happened to have a similar experience. And so I think just be careful what you choose to write about, and avoid writing about anything that feels like it might be controversial. All right. So also, don't be cynical, condescending, or disgusting. So don't make assumptions about a reader's political beliefs. Don't use sweeping generalizations such as pro-choice advocates are killers. That's pretty awful. Or making any generalizing assumption like all white people have dogs. Just to give one example. It's okay to have some sort of understanding of people, but I think that maintain a politeness. And in my experience, Indonesians are very polite and loving people, and so I don't really see this being an issue. But that's me making a generalization right there. So just be careful with the generalizations you make, and be careful not to talk about anything that would be inappropriate. Another thing is not to use cliches. So everyone probably has seen the "be the change you want to see in the world" quote, which is an awesome quote. And you should be the change you want to see in the world. But if you put it in your essay, I want to be the change I want to see in the world, it comes across as really that's the only thing that you're able to share. Instead of, I want to be a connector for communities, and I want to bring people together. And I think that my ability to create relationships and break down boundaries will help solve some of the world's problems I see. Put it into your own words. Other thing is don't plagiarize. I think that sometimes it can be tempting to, if you're stressed out and last minute you need to get a scholarship essay done, just to, take some words of off a template. But plagiarism just isn't the way to go, and it'll feel so much better to write things in your own words. Don't forget to proofread. So 1, don't write your essay on your iPhone or phone, or use texting grammar. Typos and spelling or grammatical errors can be interpreted as carelessness or just bad writing. And don't rely on your computer as spell check. That says, Daniel was my best fried. It should be friend. So you want to make sure fried is spelled correctly, but it wouldn't be flagged. So make sure that you have someone proofread your essay. And if you have a friend that's a native English speaker, or you really think that their English is good, go ahead, especially if the essay is in English, share it with them, see if they're able to just read it over to make sure things make sense. And then I want you to ask, after you've written it, ask yourself, does it sound like me? So if you were to drop your essay in the middle of the street and your best friend happened to be walking by, didn't see you drop it, and they picked it up, would they be able to read it and know that it was you who wrote it? And if you think that your essay could be written by other people, it's not a unique enough essay. So think about how you can make it very unique to who you are, and find an angle to make it come across in an uncommon way. Okay, so I have another question about, do you have any tips to be unique in wording? I think that from my experience, something I usually do if I'm, running out of words, I use a thesaurus, or I just Google synonyms for the word. And sometimes in English, synonyms don't always fit very well for what you're trying to say. Like, if you are trying to find a synonym for exciting, you might find enthusiastic or thrilled or frightened. Like some words that don't perfectly fit. Or I'm sorry, I'll use the same tense. Excited. That could be thrilled. That could be anxious. That could be a few different things, and they all mean slightly different. But I do think a thesaurus helps if you're trying to switch up the language that you use. Also, if you have, like, if you're on Google Docs, you can right-click on a word and choose define the word, and it will give you synonyms right in the Google Doc. So don't use wording any student could write. So if the essay is asking you to write about why you think you'd be a good fit at the college, don't just say, I like the college because, or I think I'd be a great fit at the college because I think their academic program is amazing. Anyone could say that. Make it a little bit more personal. So this person did a good job of making her essay more personal. She said, as my tour guide, Isabel, expounded upon programs and classes at Barnard, we passed the Diana Center. Watching students shuffle to class, they spoke of assignments, tests, and plans for their weekend. Everywhere I glanced, I saw motivated, strong-willed, intelligent women. I scribbled down notes of interesting professors and classes. My favorite, reaching to the past, studying history from Anne Hutchinson to democracy in Athens. As I heard about the course and its unprecedented pedagogy, I knew Barnard embodied my dream college and was where I was meant to be. So it just tells more of a story of why she's a good fit there. The other thing is to know your subject. So just make sure that when you're writing factually. Don't mention college X and college Y's essay. So this is really important if you're applying for multiple scholarships and you're using the same essay. Make sure that you don't say to Harvard that you're so excited about Stanford, if that makes sense. So I think we are about out of time, and I want to make sure that I leave room for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this little quiz, and I'm also happy to share this PowerPoint with all of you if that's appropriate after, so that you can go back and look through it. But I want to make sure that we give enough time for questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end with this quote. So there's a lot of pressure to be unique and interesting, but at the end of the day, the key to standing out is to just be yourself. Admissions officers can tell when students are embellishing or being insincere in their essays, so it's best to keep it simple and tell a story about you and the person you are today. All right, so now we have time for questions. And we have one already in the chat. So Is it possible to use thesaurus on Microsoft Word and Grammarly online apps to help in wording and essay writing? I am not sure about Grammarly. Grammarly is awesome though. Everyone, if you don't have Grammarly already, download it, put it on your browser. I use Grammarly and it has really saved me when I'm writing emails quickly or, you know, writing a blog post on Google Docs, whatever. Grammarly is a Google extension, and it's wonderful. But there's also a thesaurus on Microsoft Word, and I've used it before. That's another thing. You can right click and find synonyms quite easily through. So thank you so much for your question. And I'm not sure if you all have the capability, but if you want to ask a question and speak on your mic, you're welcome to. And so.
Well, it's really wonderful to have this new insight and knowledge phrase. Yes, I think this is the Q&A session. Yes, so you all guys feel free to ask anything about your question, about your confusing, about writing for scholarship. As our main topic today is about writing for scholarship. As I know that I myself sometimes get confused how to write, how to start the writing for essay. Sometimes we will ask about tell about ourselves, right? We have to tell about ourselves, but we don't know how to start because about myself. Should I tell about my favorite food, about my hobbies, and so on? It sometimes it drives me crazy a lot. So this is the time for you all. Feel free to ask anything. They can. If you guys want to ask any kind of question, just raise your hand. You can raise your hand on the Zoom, and then turn on the microphone. Well, yes, feel free to ask anything. Well, I see there. For the name Anggrani Ramli, yes, who is raising her hand. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Hi, Miss Perrin, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I'm glad to have this class with you. It's such an interesting topic, mashallah. Very wonderful topic, but I need to ask about something like how to avoid to be like bragging when you introduce yourself, because you know it's like cultural differences between us. We are a non-native speakers. Sometimes we don't feel that it's like a bragging, but when we write a sentence about us, it feels like we are bragging. And maybe also because of of the vocabularies that we have. Do you have any like examples of essay that we can refer to when we write? We can refer to write out the examples of the essays to the scholarship essays particularly. That's my question, Miss. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for asking. And that's a great question, because I recognize, you know, it can be uncomfortable or sort of hard to figure out, you know, in my language, this might sound okay, but in a different language, it sounds like, oh my gosh, that person really thinks pretty highly of themselves. And so it's a difficult balance to find, but what I think is, you know, focus it on storytelling. And if you can, instead of telling me that, instead of me telling you all that I am a running ambassador, and I, get free pairs of shoes because I'm awesome and I'm a great runner. That comes across as pretty bold. I could say, after running every day for 7 years, I fell in love with my running shoes and had an opportunity to represent the company through their ambassador program. It excites me to talk about the running shoes because they really have improved my running form and have allowed me to run over 500 miles in the past year, something like that. So you're, instead of saying, I'm so awesome, I do all these things, you're telling a story through also, acknowledging that you do cool things and you are worthy of that praise. Does that help answer your question?
Thank you so much for Mrs. Perrin for answering the questions. Yes, really wonderful question. We hope it can help. As I see here, Mr. Salman Al-Farizi, yes, he's raising his hand. Yes, feel free to ask. Just turn on the microphone.
Okay, hi, Miss Perrin. I don't know if this two basic questions as an English learner, but yeah, I want to ask about the grammar things inside our writings. Since mostly I learn English autonomously, I often find a confusion on learning the grammar things. So the question is, what's your best tips to learn about grammar more easily and practical, especially in writing? And anyway, that thing behind you, that thing was a great artwork though. I love art too, especially music and fashion designing. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Salman, thank you so much for your question. And, grammar is hard. Grammar is hard in the English language. Grammar is hard in any language. And my best advice would just to be easy on yourself and not worry too much if you feel like your sentences need to start more simply at first, until you feel more comfortable in, with your grammar. My grammar honestly did not improve a ton until college, and I was writing a ton, writing all the time, and I met with my professors. I don't know if you'll have this opportunity, Salman, but if you have an opportunity to meet with your professors, any student, and go over your essays, take it. Because that is what really changed my ability to write well and learn grammar and learn about parts of grammar that that I've been speaking this language since I could talk and did not ever really realize were, rules to follow. So, Salman, I know that that's not a very easy or perfect answer to your question, which is a great question. It's like, I wish that there was a quick and easy fix to be like, here, let me just transfer the grammar knowledge, but it seems like you're well on your way. So just, keep, listening to people, read books in English. That'll make a difference. I think the more you read, the more you learn about different writing styles and different things you can do with sentences. But yeah, thank you so much, Salman. And I appreciate that you like art too. It's really a lovely part of our world.
Right, for the next question, I think there are lots of participants with raising their hands. Just feel free to open the microphone and just ask the question. Yes. Maybe now we're moving to Mrs. Sakara Yulustari. Sakara Yulustari, please.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. Hello, Mrs. Duncan. I'm so glad to see you.
Hi, Sekar. Are you? Oh, sorry.
So, my question is, as we know, the common question for scholarship, especially an essay writing, we generally will be asked to write about our valuable contribution for our country. But in this case, even many people still get confused how to start writing or telling their contribution. So, would you mind to share us the trick to start writing to elaborate these kinds of questions, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it can be overwhelming, when you're putting pressure on yourself to find something really amazing that you've contributed to talk about. I mean, whenever I was writing my dissertation for my master's program, my professors were asking me, what does your art bring to the world? How is it different than any other abstract painter? And I felt so pressured for my work to have this crazy meaning that was going to change the whole world. And when I had that mindset, it was debilitating. It was like, my art is never going to change the whole world. I don't know if, 1,000 people will ever see my work. And so, but then getting out of that mindset and just getting into, Sekar, you've done something that has changed your community. I know it. And I don't know you, but I know that every person has made a mark on the individuals that they interact with. And so figuring out, what is your contribution to your community? As little as it may seem, it might not seem like a big deal to you at all. It might be, I really like to entertain and bring new groups of people together. And so every Sunday evening, I have dinner at my house and I bring together a group of people, and I really enjoy fostering community and sharing food. And, it can be something really small, really seemingly small. It doesn't have to be, I started a foundation and I impacted this many people's lives. Making a meaningful impact, and I really believe that this is the truth. I think that making a meaningful impact and making a meaningful difference and contribution in the world, it's more about the quality of the contribution you're making than the quantity. So I think my best advice in that scenario is just take pressure off yourself, Sekar, and know that anything that you've done that you're proud of is going to be valuable enough to talk about.
Well, thankful for the answer. Hope that we can help with Sakar. Actually, we have our coolest lecturer called Mr. Mauludin Afna. Yes, he's raising his hand. Yes, the coolest lecturer we have in English department. So we highly appreciate for your attentions to join on these online learning classes. So as I see here, you are raising your hand, so feel free to ask anything, any kind of questions. Yes, to Mr. Maulidin Afnan, time is yours.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone.
Hi.
Did my voice is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I'm really sorry. Actually, I raised hand in the first session. This is the last thing. It keep posting. I'm really sorry. I don't mean to ask question. I have typed on chat. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm really sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I don't mean to ask question. It's mean to be pressed when I type on chat. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry.
Oh, no need to apologize. We're all here learning.
Yeah.
Zoom is confusing.
Yes. Okay. I think that's all. Thank you. I will close my mic.
Yes, for more information, this is just about sharing culture a bit. That in Indonesia, we would love to say sorry for anything mistake we have. So we commonly say sorry and thank you. That's our culture in Indonesia actually. So this is just for share. So we have here Mr. Iskandar Samad. Yeah, we'll please welcome Mr. Give your best questions, and we hope that it can help for us together here. Please.
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask you questions. Well, I'm really surprised and also happy that talking about sorry and thank you. Right. I think I usually hear this kind of words used by the native speakers, but I think the Indonesian use this one when they are, get used to talk to the native speakers. I think that is only my personal assumption. Well, I would like to ask a question. One question to Ms. Perrin. Okay, in writing an essay, especially when we apply for a scholarship or when we apply for a job, is there any certain rhetorics that we need to follow in order to persuade the sponsorship or the head of the company? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much for your question, Iskander. And I think it's sort of difficult to answer perfectly, and I think that goes back to knowing your prompt, going back and reading what they're asking of you, and then developing your rhetoric based on that. So in my opinion and my experience, so I've worked with college students, and I also worked in the admissions office at my undergraduate university. And so a lot of times the best essays are the ones that don't really follow any expectation. They kind of throw you off guard. And so I think that's a great question, but similar to what I said to Sekar, it's like, take pressure off yourself and write in whatever way feels most authentic to you. Thanks for your question.
Yes, thanks also for the answer. This is Perrin. Well, we're moving to the next question, I think. Miss Miraji Suharto, yes, I think you are there. Kindly ask any kind of question you have. Feel free for asking.
Well, thank you for the chance given. And I'm glad to be here and have Ms. Perrin as the speakers here. And I have several questions regarding to the writing techniques and also what is that? And that, I've kept learning about what is it? Writing an essay and also writing for the IELTS test. And, for me that I think for the writing essays, I need some kinds of, is there any framework in writing essays so that we can follow in? And also, I experience myself, I need some kinds of techniques, how often or how frequent we should practice writing in order to create a excellent writing. And also, what else? I think that about the CV also, is it which one much better? Have what is that? Sell ourselves in CV only in a page, or 2-page is okay. And then, yeah, because I started I start learning writing essay by myself, or I mean that independently. So I think that I am about proofreading, like what you say, Ms. Perrin, because to find the proofreading, as what you know that we live in Indonesia, and then we know that some of our friends that graduated from the from the global universities is quite they rather busy rather than other else. So we find it hard to find the proofreading groups for ourselves. So that's one of the challenges that I find it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all of your questions. And I'm going to try to remember each of them. So one question that I think is very interesting is, how often should I write? How often should I practice writing? And honestly, like anything, as often as you can is going to make you better. But it's also going to make you miserable writing English essays 24/7. But something that I started doing, Myra, let's see, for almost 4 years ago now, is every morning, as soon as I wake up, I just write 1 page in a journal. Whatever comes to my mind, I put it down on paper and I write it. And when I studied abroad in Spain and I was really working on learning Spanish, I wrote in Spanish in my journal. And that really helped me. It was only 5 to 10 minutes a day in Spanish. And it was the first thing I did every morning. And it just became a routine, and that helped me really improve my language and just, letting it come more quickly. And so that's one thing I would say is, find something that works for you. Maybe it doesn't work for you, Myra, to write every morning in a journal, but maybe it works for you to take a break in the middle of the day and say, I'm going to start a timer for 10 minutes and I'm going to write as much as I can in English during that 10 minutes. But find a way to make it a habit. That's what's going to be most helpful. And then I think I need a reminder of the other questions. There was a question about proofreading and finding people to proofread, and that's difficult. I think that you know, if you can't find people to proofread, then just find a friend that knows English. You know, if you can't find a native speaker, find that your next best bet. There's also services you can pay for if that's within your abilities. There's people that you can pay to edit and review. And so those are some things to consider. I think it would be really cool if we could create some kind of exchange program with, like, you know, students from the US that are interested in meeting Indonesian students. And so that's something to maybe consider. And then the other question that I remember, Myra, that you asked is, a CV, should it be 1 or 2 pages? And I've been, you know, I've battled the same thing. You know, I've had a CV that's on 1 page, I've had a CV that's on 2 pages. I think at the end of the day, as long as your CV is easy to read and it isn't filled with fluff, like filler information that doesn't actually matter, it's okay if it's 2 pages, it's okay if it's 1 page. It's typically recommended, especially with someone who's young in their career, to keep it as concise as possible. But if you think that you have a lot of valuable experience to share and you just can't fit it on 1 page, make it 2 pages, and that's okay.
Well, thank you so much for the answer, Mrs. Perrin. I think due to the time is raining out, so I think this is the last of our session, Q&A session. Thank you also for Mira Di Suharto for the question, yes. We highly appreciate, we highly thankful for your available attendance, for sharing the knowledge. I do believe that this knowledge, this insight is really helpful for us to learn more about how to write an essay, especially maybe for scholarship, because as you said before, that we can sell ourselves by writing an essay. So company or college will consider about us. Well, I think we also need to take picture for the last session, because I'm sure that you will be available to have picture. Well, everybody please turn on the camera, as this is the last. Kindly turn on the camera. Wow, so many people here. Thank you so much for opening the camera. Right, let me count. If you smile, 1, 2, 3. Let's take a picture. Let's move for another slide. All right, ready? Get ready. 1, 2, 3. Right, another slide, please. 1, 2, 3. Right, as we have 4 slides here, so I'm really thankful for your available attendance. Thank you for your attention, and especially for our great, wonderful speaker here, for sharing, yes, new knowledge. I do believe, I feel like this is new, really new insight for me. So I can learn, I can know about tips, how to write an essay correctly. Yes, how to write an essay well. So I do also think that this is really helpful, and we can also practice another time. I do hope that this is not the last meeting for us, Mrs. Perrin. So we will have another session. We will have another meeting. So yes, I just really forgot about that. So thank you so much for your, yes, thank you so much for your attention. I think this is the last for me. See you in the next session. See you in the next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you in the next class.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure.